I've just yesterday finished a piece for the Phillips Collection concert series in Washington DC, which will be performed on May 13th by Darren Morgan and Marie Dulay. It's an afternoon concert series. It's quite famous series within the States, and they get an audience who come to the gallery and then go to the concerts. So it should be quite a nice event, and I'm going out there for that, which is great. And the piece is called Seeking the Whirlwind's Secrets. So it's quite a furious dialogue between the violin and piano.
Right. And where did the title come from? It's an intriguing one.
I tend to have quite specific titles for my work, and I can't really start a piece unless I've got the title. And it was very much to do with I'm very interested in the planets and the weather system, so it's about the eye of the storm and what actually happens with being in a hurricane and being in an eye of the storm. I left Belfast in 1989 and to go to the Guildhall in London. And prior to that, I had been composing for a few years. I started as an undergraduate and had avoided thinking about it or writing about it at all in my work. And it was only later when I started to get commissioned. Even when I first went to London, it was something that was almost, I had cut off from that. It wasn't going to be part of what I was doing. And then I was commissioned to write a large ensemble piece by a Danish ensemble called Atellus. And I wrote a piece called Tribe, which was very much to do with the standoff at Drumcree, which was quite politically charged event which happened every summer when the Orange Band were marching through a Catholic area. And that was very raw and had a lot of energy that I hadn't used before, and it was played at Huddersfield Festival, as premiered there, and it got incredibly good feedback. And I think it was because it had a real strong sense of identity that I hadn't tapped into before. I always painted. That was my big thing. I always did visual arts, and that was something I was going to do. I applied and got a place at art college, but at the very last moment decided, oh no, actually I'll do music. And I hadn't actually started composing at that point. But then when I did start to do music as my undergraduate degree, I then transferred, I suppose, the visual art skills into composing. So colour has always been a huge thing for me. And I think that's very much to do with the thinking about a composition as you would a composition on a canvas, and that's something I've referred to in my work before, about blending textures, and orchestration is my favourite thing. I love orchestrating sounds to get colours that you're imagining in your head, and then you hear them, and you get some really exquisite touches of colour with just a little bit of that. It's interesting, if I choose to be in a place to write something, it'll have a big influence. I think living in London is just where I live, and perhaps it has an influence, but maybe not as extreme as being somewhere like New York City. Before then, I had been living in a small village north of Newcastle upon Tyne, so it was going from absolute village of population of 150 to New York City. And during that time in Northumberland, I'd written very quiet pieces with long moments of reflection, like How to Make the Water Sound, Rothko Chord. Then I went to New York and was bombarded by sound, and that influenced Celestial Pied Piper. It was the first piece that was really fast, and I suppose it was a sense of liberation of, oh, I can do this, because up until then writing fast music is difficult. It's time consuming, it's harder to hear, it's harder to get from your head onto the page.
A lot more notes, a
lot more sense of pacing, I suppose, in a way. And that was a very fun piece. Also, humour in music's quite hard to do, and this was quite a humorous piece with sirens and bells and things like that. the audience and what they are as part of the piece is quite important to me, and it's something that I've been thinking a lot about in the last probably 5-6 years, and looking at performance as an event rather than a concert where people feel uncomfortable, that they are afraid to make any sound because they're in this hallowed environment. And if you think about going to a jazz concert, how easy that is to just become absorbed in what it is you're hearing.